evening, everyone, and welcome. We are the Owatonna School Board. It's Monday, it's January 4th, 2021. It's 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's our organizational meeting, big meeting tonight. Eric, I'll turn it over to you for our attendance.
Okay, Mark?
I'm here.
Lori?
Here.
Tim?
Here.
Jolene?
Here.
Nikki?
Here.
Deborah?
Here.
And Daniela?
Here.
And I myself's here. So all 7 board members and student representative are present.
We are all here. That's terrific. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We'll start our meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Elstad is doing his very best. You can see in his pane in the window there that we've got the flag up there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The very first thing on our agenda tonight would be to welcome our new board member, Deborah Vandal. And Deborah, if it's all the same to all of you, this virtual is a tough way to go about things. And so what we'll do is I'm acknowledging, because Deborah has been in, she signed the acceptance of the oath of office. She's publicly affirmed her commitment to the oath of office. And tonight, for at least the virtual format, we're going to say welcome. We're glad you're here. And we will use the meeting at the end of the month, because at the end of the month, we're going to go back to an in-person format. Everyone will be here. And I think it's going to be a warmer and a more pleasant experience to welcome you in and say hello and hear from you at a greater level at that point in time. So with that, Deborah, welcome. We're glad you're here. The next item would be to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as it has been presented to you. Eric has seconded that. Any further discussion? Anybody see anything in the agenda that we need to change? I don't see anything. So with that, I'll turn to you, Eric, for the roll call vote.
Yep, Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself's an aye. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thank you. First up would be the election of the officers, and presently Mark Sebring. I am Mark Sebring, currently holds the office of the chair, and at this point I would accept nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate Mark Sebring as chairperson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did you get it, Sarah? We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none.
Roll call.
We will take a roll call vote on that. Eric, if you would.
Yep, Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself's an aye. 7-0 pass.
That motion carries. Next up would be the position of the vice chair. Lori Weisenberger has held this office during 2021, and I will make the nomination that Lori be appointed the vice chairperson for the Board of Education for
Second.
2021. Eric has made the second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will turn things over to Eric for the roll call vote.
Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself's an aye. 7-0 pass.
That motion carries. Next up is Office of Clerk. Eric Schuster has held this office in 2020. I will make the nomination that Eric Schuster be appointed clerk of the Board of Education for 2021. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Deborah has seconded that. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark? Lori?
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself and I. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thanks. Lastly would be the Office of Treasurer. Jolene Mose has held the Office of Treasurer in 2020. Nominations, let me rephrase, I will make the nomination that Jolene Mose be appointed Treasurer for the Board of Education for 2021. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Eric, if you would.
Certainly. Mark? Lori?
Aye.
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
I myself and I. 7-0 pass.
Yeah, motion carries. Next up tonight would be public forum. I'm going to turn to Sarah. There were no submissions for the public forum. We'll continue on. In item 7, these are the various committees. And the first item up tonight would be item 7A, which is school board committees. Each of you would have received the updated school board committee assignment, or it would be available to you in the board packet online. And I would just check with all of you. For the most part, Deborah has taken over a lot of the positions that Christina held. There were a couple of spots where we moved some people around, and I checked with all of those folks that were affected. Everyone was good with that. So we'll continue on. And I guess what I'll do then is I'll make the motion. I move that the board approve the school board committees and the number of members as stated in policy 213.
Second.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion with regard to committees?
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Lori. Say, I apologize. I didn't see the assignment document. Just to clarify, so Jolene will be joining the policy committee, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then she's off the finance.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Thought that finance would be a great place for Deborah to start.
Oh, yes. Always interesting. There you go. Just confirming that. Thank you.
Yep. Nope, you're absolutely right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Yep. Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself and I. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up would be item B, representative for Title I funding. I'll turn things over to Mr. Elstead for a quick explanation there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is an annual thing that the board has to approve, and this would be identifying that we have a representative within our school district who actually makes the application and is the contact person for any Title I funding. If you remember, Title I is a federal funding source that we receive mostly for our students that qualify for free and a reduced lunch. And that's the formula that's used to generate those funding sources. And I would ask that you consider Michelle Krell, as she has been our Title I coordinator for the last 3 years and has done an excellent job. And I would like to continue to see her in that role. So I ask for your consideration.
Any questions, further discussion on that? Hearing none, I will move that the board authorize Michelle Krell to make application and be the contact person for funds as provided under Title I Public Law 103-382 for 2021.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself and I. 7-0 pass.
Thank you. Item C is the official newspaper. I'll turn things back over to Mr. Elstead for a quick explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, the official newspaper is identified as a place where the board can do its legal proceedings and provide bid information, all of those pieces that are part of the legal contract we have when it comes to those necessary functions within the school board. And so what I'm asking for you to do is consider tonight that we designate the Owatonna People's Press as our official newspaper.
Any questions, further comments with regard to this? Hearing none. I will move that the board designate the Owatonna People's Press as the official newspaper for Owatonna Public Schools.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Eric?
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene.
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Eric, and I am an aye. So that's 7-0 pass.
Thank you. Next up would be item D, time and place and notification of meetings. We have found, I think, our sweet spot with the second and the fourth Mondays of the month. Meeting time starting at 5:30. There are a couple of exceptions that we make as we look at the calendar throughout the year, but for the most part, that seems to have worked very well. Anybody have any issue, anything that we want to talk about at this point with regard to time and dates? Okay, hearing none. I move that the board authorize the administration to establish its meetings for the second and fourth Monday of each month at 5:30, unless otherwise prohibited by law, and that such meetings be held at the district office, unless so designated by the board.
Second.
Is there a second? We do have a second. Any further discussion? And Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
Thank you, Eric. Item E tonight is legal counsel. One more time, I'll turn things over to Mr. Elstad for the explanation.
Thank you very much. This is something that we asked the board to consider. It is good practice for school boards to designate legal counsel that would be available to not only the board, but the administrators as well. And so we have two legal firms that are up for consideration tonight. Dorsey and Whitney law firm is typically one that we would call on for any election sort of legal advice. And then furthermore, for general practice with most cases, whether it be personnel, special education issues, things of that nature, we do rely on the firm Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney to provide us legal advice and services for those particular functions. So tonight I would ask that you consider these two firms as the official and designated legal counsel of the board.
Any further questions or comments on that?
Maybe just a quick question, Jeff.
Go ahead, Laurie.
Can the district hire anyone other than the two firms if needed, or do you have to come back to the board for action?
Thank you. We do not have to come back to the board. These are two firms that we can rely on as our primary source. In fact, when we did some inquiry, because Chris Peak in our HR department has the most contact with our legal firm, Ratwick is typically the firm that we've used. In the event that we had to go outside of this, we do typically have the ability to go out and get another legal firm if one is needed, or if during the year, if the legal firm were to go bankrupt or something like that, and we needed to find another firm, it wouldn't require board action for us to do that. But this is just simply designating those legal firms as our first primary contacts.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll make the motion then that the board that the board designate Dorsey and Whitney and Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney and others as needed as the official legal counsel for the district.
Second.
Motion and a second. Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
Motion carries. Item F would be designating depositories for school district revenue. Mr. Elstad will give us a quick bird's eye view on that one as well.
Yeah, each year the board designates and approves fiduciary institutions that will help us to make monies necessary for payroll, activity account monies, things of that nature. And so we're asking for you to consider, and we're not breaking any practice by using these same fiduciary institutions. So we're asking for your consideration of both Bremer Bank and PMA Financial Network Incorporated as those depositories.
Any questions? Hearing none, I will move that the board approve Bremer Bank and PMA Financial Network, Inc. as depositories for monies necessary to meet payrolls, activity account monies, and for school district revenues necessary to meet its general accounts, savings, and federal income tax withholding obligations. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself, an aye. 7 will pass.
That motion carries. Next up would be item G, which would be designating the financial institutions for school district investments. The description is the exact same one that Mr. Elstad just gave you, only this time it would be applicable to the financial institutions that have relationships with the district for those investments. All of that information is made available to you in your board packet. Anybody have any questions with regard to it? Hearing none, I will move that the board approve designating the financial institutions as listed to be authorized to invest district assets as requested and within all state and federal guidelines. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, if you would.
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself, an aye. 7 will pass.
Motion carries. Item H, authorizing persons to make transfers. Mr. Elstad will give us a quick bird's eye view on that one.
Yeah, in order to conduct the financial business of the district, the board typically authorizes 2 individuals or as designees to make deposits and withdraw money on behalf of the school district, again, to conduct regular business of the school district. And so I'm asking for your consideration that you authorize our Director of Finance and Operations, the Controller, or another designee to make those deposits and to follow through with the transfers needed for school district financial business.
Any questions for Mr. Elstad on that? Hearing none, I will move that the board authorize the Director of Finance and Operations, the Controller, or designee to deposit and withdraw money on behalf of the district to the checking and investment accounts. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Eric, would you do the roll call vote for us?
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself, an aye. 7 will pass.
That motion carries. Next up, item I is the authorizing co-signers. This is a standard procedure. It is the chair, the clerk, and the treasurer that the signatures are used for with regard to the district's check signing machine. It's a protocol item. Anybody have any questions with regard to that? I will move that the board designate the co-signers of district checks to be its chair, the clerk, and the treasurer, and for these signatures to be used on the district's check signing machine. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Eric, would you do the roll call?
Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself, an aye. 7 will pass.
That motion carries. Item J tonight is the appointment of the deputy treasurer. And what we do is this: the superintendent serves as the deputy treasurer in the event that that becomes necessary. So with that, I'm going to make the motion that the board appoint its superintendent to serve as the deputy treasurer of the district to assist the elected treasurer in carrying out his or her responsibilities. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
Next item up would be item K, the board annual allowance, and I'll introduce this motion with a brief explanation. School board members provide an important link between the community and the school district. The personal responsibilities and expectations for the required time commitment are commensurate with appropriate compensation. I'm going to make the motion that the board approve an annual allowance of $3,400 per board member to be dispersed over 24 pay periods and an additional $600 per year for the position of chair. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
The motion carries. Final item tonight would be to adjourn this organizational meeting. I will make the motion that we adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Got the second. Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. Pass a 7-0 to end the organizational meeting.
Draws that to a close. We are going to segue right straight into our work session. We'll let the record reflect that it is 5:53 as we start the work session. I'm going to call the meeting to order one more time. Eric, we'll go around the horn with a roll call vote.
Mark,
Aye. I should say I'm
Lori,
Aye. I'm here.
Tim,
Present.
Jolene,
Sorry, here.
Nikki,
Here.
Deborah,
Here.
and I myself is here. So all 7 still present.
It's a short agenda tonight, but the next item up would be to approve the agenda as it has been presented to you. I'll make the motion that we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion with regard to the agenda? Hearing none. Eric, if you would.
Yep. Mark,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye. 7-0 pass.
Thank you. First up tonight, we're getting a report from the Washington Elementary School. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad for a nice introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. If I may, Mr. Chair, when we're done with these Zoom meetings, where we don't have to go through the cantankerous effort of all of the feedback and things that are happening within speakers, it will be a blessing for me. I would just share that with you personally. But it is my honor and privilege tonight to let you know that the work of this school district still goes on. Kids are still learning, teachers are still teaching, our support students and families, and it's just wonderful to see the transitions that our staff have gone through to continue the educational process for our students. Part of that process includes Washington Elementary, and Beth Spenby, the principal of Washington, and her staff are on board tonight to provide you an update in regards to where Washington is. I'm sure that the staff from Washington would agree that we still do our best work when our students are in front of us. And next Monday, we will have our elementary students back in front of us at Washington. So again, Beth, I will turn it over to you. Thanks to you and your staff for being here tonight. And if I had a dime for every time I said, hey, you're on mute. Sorry, Beth. Are other people here be able to hear Beth yet?
I am not.
Me neither.
Okay. Beth looks like she's trying to rectify the situation on her end. We're still not able to hear you, Beth. We love technology when it works. Beth, why don't we try this? This has happened to us a couple of other times. You may need to go out of the meeting and come back in, and for some reason that resets your audio. So if you want to try that, and we'll just wait just a minute to get started.
Beth, would you like to, if you share your screen, I can introduce our staff people that are here and kind of start if that would work.
Beth, is your volume turned down? I did that once.
Hey, Beth, try unplugging your headset and plugging it back in. You might have to unplug it. You maybe can just go without the headset and use the speaker on the laptop. Oh,
As long as you're talking to her, we tell her that Jeff is going to get her phone number.
Beth, Jeff's going to get you a number to call.
Okay, Beth just asked if I would begin. So I'm Joni Harmson. I'm the teaching and learning coach at Washington. And Beth has asked our two paraprofessionals and two educational assistants from our building to come and share all the awesome things they do for our students, regardless of the learning model that we are in. So the people that we have with us are Connie, I always mess up your last name, Connie Redkowski, Julie Dunn, Tom Munns, and Gwen Pilcher. So Beth, can you share your screen, or do you want me to try to pull something up?
I can't.
Oh wait, we can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Okay, so
We can hear you.
it says I have a poor internet connection here. So Joni, can you share the screen? Because I unhooked from my monitor. And if you can show the presentation, then at least I can share part of it. Can you do that, Joni?
I can. I'm just pulling it up right now. So
Okay.
hold on 1 minute. There we go. And
Oh, that's awesome.
all
Can you
right.
still hear me? Okay. Thank you, Joni.
You're welcome.
Sorry about all of that. I kept getting a message that said I had a poor internet connection. I could see you, but that's about all. Y'all look really good, just so you know. but that's about all that I could do. I was wondering earlier, I kept talking to Sarah earlier before the meeting started and she didn't respond to me at all. And I was like, what is going on? But evidently nobody could hear me. So I do want to thank you for letting us come and talk to you. I know we're coming right off of the winter break, and so we're getting our minds wrapped back into the world of education and getting us back into school. But we're super excited to share a little bit about Washington Elementary. I missed a little bit of Joni starting, but I'm very appreciative that she did. I'm not sure if she introduced the people that are with us tonight, but Joni is our wonderful teaching and learning coach who has been a treasure and a gift to every single person in our building, and we're blessed to have her with us. Connie Rakowski and Julie Dunn are both with us tonight. They are special education paraprofessionals in our building. And Tom Munns and Gwen Pilcher are with us as well tonight, and they work as educational assistants at Washington Elementary. I wanted to bring all of these people along tonight because we have a lot of unsung heroes in our buildings that don't always get the recognition outside of our buildings. You know, we recognize them at length inside our buildings, but I'm not so sure that outside of our buildings, the community and the rest of the world knows how important they are and how vital they are to our operations. So we're going to share a little bit later in our presentation what they do and why truly they are our essentials and the unsung heroes in our building on a daily basis. But we're going to start and just share our building goals with you. Joni's going to take the first building goal. It relates to data, and so no better person than our teaching and learning coach to take that one on.
So yeah, and just to kind of, it looks a little clunky or it sounds a little clunky this year, and I just kind of wanted to give you a little background on that. We were concerned about using growth norms this year because of the disruption to the learning models last spring and in the fall. And the impact of this on the FastBridge norms is unknown at this time. So instead, we've kind of prioritized our formative assessments, our reading records in guided reading, and using those as tools for addressing learning gaps and measuring literacy growth this year. And we're going to see an impact of that work in our spring FastBridge results at the building level by the reduction in the number of students that are at higher levels of risk. So that's kind of why our goal is written this way this year. So in kindergarten and first grade, we use the early reading measures. And in second through fifth grade, we'll use A reading, which is, both of those are very broad measures of reading. And we're going to try, our goal is to, this is where it sounds clunky, to increase the percentage of students at low risk or very low risk in K1 from 53%, which is where we were at in the fall, to 65% this spring, and in second through fifth grade from 62% in the fall to 75% in the spring. And I added the little notation on the risk. Every single one of the categories has the word risk in it. That's why it sounds a little clunky, I think. But our high risk is students who have the most need, and very low risk is our students who we don't have any concerns about meeting grade level benchmarks. So that's our goal, and we're really sticking with our core curriculum to meet that goal. We are working using our Fontes and Pinnell resources in literacy. We're really digging into our curriculum maps and making sure that we're pacing appropriately and in response to student need. As I had said earlier, we're using our formative assessments. We're using reading records that are very ongoing to give us information about what we need to address with students. All staff are completing coaching cycles, and really that's a chance for me to work very closely with a teacher for, it's about 4 weeks this year, 4 weeks at a time. So we've gone through 2 different rounds. So each round of coaching cycles, I'll coach 4 different teachers for 4 weeks and spend a good deal of time planning with them and teaching. And so that's been extra exciting and interesting in a virtual setting, but fun. And then we have collaboration days, which are every Tuesday. One of the days we work on data review. Another one of the Tuesdays of the month, we look at student behaviors and social emotional needs. We also look at equity, and that's going to lead us right into our next goal, which I think that Beth is going to talk about. So I'll pause there and hand it over.
Yeah, and I just want to do a little shout out to Joni again. I think one of the benefits that we have is that every single staff member goes through a coaching cycle. It's just a non-negotiable at Washington, because whether you are in your first year of teaching or in your 31st year of teaching, we have something to learn and in a way to craft our trade and improve on. And we have enjoyed that process so much that we have people asking for second rounds of coaching cycles, and we just don't have enough weeks in the year for Joni to be able to fulfill those people that would like a second round. So that says a lot about the work that Joni's doing, and it says a lot about the willingness of our staff to learn and grow and become better at all times. So I'm really proud of everybody for that work. The second goal focuses on our safe and caring community and equity foundation for the district. And it really just continues our work in embracing all students. A journey with equity is never complete, which is why we call it a journey. We continue to deepen our understanding of the impact that our thoughts and perceptions and that our biases have on students and on our building and on each other. Sometimes we are aware of them, and many times we are not. And that's just part of the process of having courageous conversations and working our way through a better understanding of the world as a whole. So we have dove in this year with our staff meetings. We have Dr. Martina Wagner joining us at our staff meetings and helping guide us through the next steps of the process. I'm not an expert in the steps of the process, and so having her on board has been incredibly powerful and important because she has an element of expertise in an area that we need to be brought into our building to create a successful environment. We do use collaboration days as well, and Martina does join us on our equity day. Collaboration days, I know we've talked about them in the past, but we've been able to create a schedule where once a week we have a day, and I meet with every grade level for an hour. And alongside with me is the school social worker, Martina, Joni, our school psychologist, our EL teacher. So anybody that we might need to bring in, we discuss student needs and we create an action plan and who's going to follow up with that student in order to help them with their needs. It's very powerful for us. It's worked wonders because we can talk about every student in our building once a week and get them services very quickly and be quick in our response, I should say. So that's kind of our two goals for this year. We really don't ever carry more than two goals because we want to set two goals that we think we can be successful with and that we can focus on. Moving into the next part of our presentation, I feel very blessed. I've been at Washington now for 10 years. And, you know, you always hear the saying about getting the right people on the bus, but that's not enough. You also need to get the right people in the right seats on the bus to really have it moving forward. And I think we've been able to do that. The longer that you're in one place, you can build and deepen a culture that is sustainable in order for great things to happen. And so we put together a wonderful team here at Washington. The individuals that you're going to hear from next are obviously a part of that team, and I am very proud of each and every one of them, along with everybody else here at Washington. We call ourselves a family, and I feel like we act and respond as a family at all times. And so if Gwen and Tom, and I can't see any of you, but I know you're all here. At one time I saw you, but if Gwen and Tom and Connie and Julie kind of want to take it over, they're going to share with you some of their work that they do at Washington, and then they're also going to share with you some impactful stories that make their journey and their work with kids meaningful to them.
Sure, and I'll start off here. I have the privilege to be in the rooms. I'll start off talking about math. At Washington, we do what is called WIN, which stands for What I Need. So students in the grade levels are divided up by skills that they need additional time with. And then the EAs are assigned to small groups. And then we're able to support those students, whether it's math facts. We may do a group of that. It may be working on the lesson that they were just taught for the day. Or we could be a monitor in a group where the kids are able to do the work. We're just there to help them with any terminology or making sure they're doing the math in the correct steps, so that as they move on, they have those skills. And at times we're cheerleaders. We're there to celebrate with them when they've completed a 5-step math problem. You know, that's a pretty big deal once you get up into those higher grades. So we're at any grade level for that fact. So yeah, it's just a variety in math that I enjoy. As far as reading, we're able to do what's called press interventions. Joni has done a wonderful job in training all of us EAs on these small group press interventions. We have anywhere from probably 2 to 6 kids in a group approximately, and we're able to target specific skills that these kids need to help them to learn and to continue to grow. No matter where they're at in their reading journey, whether it's phonemic awareness or phonics or fluency, it doesn't matter. We've been trained in all those areas for those interventions to help these kids. So, and we are able to progress monitor the students on a set schedule, which is able to give teachers valuable data for their instructional value also. We're able to notice maybe patterns with these small groups. Certain kids were able to see things and hear things and be able to tell the teacher for more instructional value. So yeah, just a wide variety of things we're able to support with and to help these kids grow along their journey. So yeah, that's about it for math and reading. I'll turn it over, whoever wants to go next.
I can go next. So I work mostly with behaviors, and while working with behaviors, we have found that less words is actually more. And to do that, we use a lot of visuals with our students through each grade, starting kindergarten through 5th grade. In each grade, the visual might look a little different. So one visual that we use a lot of is actually like a scheduled visual schedule. I don't know, can you guys see that? Somewhat. So for that, the students then can see what they have planned out and where they're supposed to be throughout the day. That makes a student more independent and less dependent on staff telling them when and where they should be at what time. It also helps with behaviors because let's say they have something special going on that day, whether it's a field trip, a special party, they can go ahead and prepare for that in the day instead of just coming back from lunch and saying, hey, we're having a party this afternoon. So they have time to mentally prepare for it. Another visual that we use a lot is the take a break card. If a student's feeling overwhelmed or upset, they can go ahead and show this to the teacher. If the teacher is talking, they can simply raise it up in the air. The teacher can give them a nod so we know where they're going and what they're doing. But it makes the student more independent and more aware of their body and when they need to leave and take a break. This also helps from them disrupting the rest of the classroom. For younger students, we can use the take a break card if we see them starting to get antsy or if we think maybe they need to take a break. We can also just set this card in front of them and then they know that they need to step out and take a break. Along with that, that kind of goes into relationships and the social emotional part. So I'll let Julie add on to that.
Hello, everyone. I think that the biggest part of my success and where I began being successful as a para is developing the relationship with my students. It's a relationship of trust and consistency and a whole lot of tough love. It's really a lot like being a parent. I've discovered that. It's also my very favorite part of my job is developing that relationship with kids, because I think my goal and a lot of our staff is to make a difference, and that's where we begin with that. Because we spend so much time with the students, developing that relationship, helping them out, we do begin to recognize when they're starting to struggle, and just saying, do you need a break? Do you need a fidget? Just something at your desk that you can use to refocus, to get back to being able to participate in your class and do your work. And then also, part of the thing that we do to support our students is knowing the accommodations that they need to be successful, such as I have students who don't really write very well. So I'll take a whiteboard and a marker and write out what they need to write, have them tell me the answer, have them, we discuss what they think, and I will write it for them to copy, or we do have talk to text also on the computers. So just knowing the accommodations that they need to be successful in their classroom. And of course, our ultimate goal with our students is encouraging independence. Connie did touch on that a little bit. We want them to be able to feel their body and understand, I really need a break right now, or I think I'm okay. I think if I just take a deep breath, I'll be able to do this. And that's our ultimate goal with them, is for them to understand that and essentially kind of not need our help anymore, kind of work ourselves out of a job, which sounds kind of funny. And then I think another part of our success at Washington in the special ed team is that we have constant communication with the case managers, and they understand that because we spend so much time with these students one-on-one, we get to know them the best, and they're totally open to any of us coming in and saying, hey, you know what, this is not working, or this is a great suggestion, can we try this? And I think that's one of my favorite parts too, is that we are such a team there, and having that support and communication with the case managers and amongst the paras, I think really helps benefit the students and us in our job. I guess that means Tom is next.
All right, so kind of to piggyback off of what's already been said here, my main focus at the school is social emotional, or dealing with kids that are struggling in different situations. And the majority of what I do or need to do is building relationships with kids and investing time with them. A lot of that is initially spent, like I get there early. Most mornings this year is different with it being the COVID thing, but usually early to be there when the kids are arriving, to be outside, to spend time with them in a non-educational setting, to work on those relationships, and just be supportive of them. A lot of what I do is the paras are assigned to the special ed kids. I work with kids that aren't on a 504 or an IEP or things like that, and then I will assist them when they need it. But the majority of what I do is really, it's critical to be able to build relationships with those kids and not just tell them that you care, but show them that you care, and recognizing when they're struggling, being able to tell when you see them, to greet them in the morning as much as I can. I try and find the kids that I work with, and within the first hour or so have some one-on-one with them just to kind of gauge where they're at. And then also, the longer you work with them, you can pick out certain times of the day that you know are going to be a problem for them, whether it be a subject matter or transitioning, going into the different blocks that they go into, things like that, and just trying to be there. And when I can, I'll show up and maybe work. Like there's one kid that I know every day math is going to be an issue with him, and I've kind of scheduled off like 20 minutes of my day for when math starts to spend time with him. And hopefully what I want to do, or ideally what I like to do, is prevent the outbursts and prevent that and try and keep them in the classroom. And if we need to get them out, then the goal is to get them out, and I don't worry about consequences for behavior or anything at that point. It's getting them time to burn off, to give them an opportunity to vent. And as was said earlier, it's not about, trying to talk talk them through that. It's allowing them to talk themselves through it and to get them back into that situation, and ideally to keep them in the classroom. And with that, I'll throw it back to Beth.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome. Can we quickly go around and can each of you share a story about a special time when you knew you made a difference, or a time that you'll never forget with a kid?
I guess I can start on that. I think, like Tom was saying, that we as special ed paras are assigned to specific students who have an IEP or in special ed services. But we also do, because we love to work with kids, we also always develop relationships with those students who aren't necessarily ours. And you tend to kind of pick out the kids who need that extra special attention. And even just every morning, just acknowledging them and saying, hey, good morning, Monday morning, how was your weekend? Today it was, what'd you get for Christmas? Did you have a good break? Just those simple little things that might not sound important to other people, to those kids who are coming to school to get the attention and the love, that's huge. And one little boy that he's a third grader this year, but when he was in kindergarten, first grade, I just picked him out, and I just knew that he needed that extra attention. And I would say hi to him every morning, and sometimes even stop in his classroom just to sit down with him for a couple minutes. And I remember one day in the lunchroom, out of the blue, I about got knocked over. He had seen me and just came running at me and gave me a huge hug. I didn't even realize he was in the room, and just turned around and ran off. And just to have that trust and that acknowledgement from a kid that I don't even spend a super lot of time with, I think was, to me, making a difference for him. And I still to this day try to check in with him as much as possible.
Thanks, Julie. Anyone else want to share?
I can go ahead. So for me, a big eye opener for me was the first day of school this year. Here we were out of school distance learning for a while, and one of the third graders that I work with this year has anxiety issues. So the first day of school, he was anxious, but then once he found out that I was with him in his classroom, it seems like everything eased up. So here he is with anxiety, walking into a brand new school year, a new teacher, and new classmates, but yet he felt comfortable and safe knowing that I was there with him. And then it was like we never left school.
Thank you.
And I worked with a first grader, I recall, throughout the year, just on letter recognition and some phonics and so forth. And every day we always ended with a high five or a fist bump. Well, one day we both got busy. I worked with another student and he had to go off to another group. So I ended up leaving the classroom. And sure enough, a few seconds later, he came dashing out of that classroom down the hallway, threw his arms around me, gave me the biggest hug ever, and then proceeded to thank me for helping him with all of his letters. And it just kind of came around. It just hit home again that it's about those relationships and about the letters and numbers, but his big old hug let me know that, yeah, he truly meant it. So it was pretty cool.
Tom, do you want to share anything?
Sure. I think, these things are daily for me in the position that I have, but one of my favorite moments, and I'm pretty sure it's the same kid that Julie was talking about. When I started there, I remember he was a daily. He was angry, didn't want to do work, and would just get up and walk away anytime, and he would leave the classroom. Just wasn't going to do it because he was basically, I think, frustrated and scared of failure. And this isn't just my doing. This is a whole group of people working with this kid. But what I will never forget is all of the times that he would cuss at me and he would swear at me and stomp away. And by the end of that school year, I remember one day in May, and I actually took a picture and I sent it to Beth because it was so amazing. But I was in the classroom, we're working through some things, finishing up math, and it was time to go out for their recess time. And I said to him, I can't say his name, but I said to him, I said, okay, bud, everybody's lined up. It's time to go to recess. He says, I'm not leaving until I get my math done. And I took a picture, and it's him sitting at his desk by himself doing his math, and the entire class is lined up with their coats on to go outside, and he wasn't going to go. And I just think from when I started there, where he absolutely refused to do it, and just through that constant support from, again, a lot of different people, and now he's a third grader, and I still check with him daily, but man, he is like the most awesome kid in the world to me. So that's my story.
That's awesome. Thank you. I think one of the most important things that I do in my job is hire people. And I'm a counselor by trade. That's what I'm accustomed to. That's what I did for many years prior to going into administration. And so while I want somebody to have a lot of wisdom and knowledge about curriculum instruction and all of that, the number one reason I would hire somebody is for their emotion and their feeling and the relationships that I think that they're going to build with others, because I think that's the only way that we're going to be strong. And so you can tell from everybody that's spoken tonight that we are a Washington family, and our culture is built on relationships with each other. I love this quote: if you want to build a ship, don't drum up people together to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. And to me, you can hear that in their voices. I don't need to, while everybody that spoke tonight has a schedule, I don't need to know where they are or what they're doing during the day, because I know they're each doing something wonderful. And I know that they are looking for the endless immensity in our kids. I don't need to tell them what that is. I don't need to direct them to get there. They can do all of that on their own. And so, like I said, when we started, I'm extremely proud of every member of our Washington family. And these are just 4 shining examples of the culture that we've been able to build for our students, and the outcome that hopefully our kids are receiving because of it. So with that, I'm going to bring that to a closure. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, board members, I'll bet there's a couple of questions out there. And while they're getting their questions queued up, I want to be the first one to say, it's so nice to hear professionals passionately talking about educating kids. It just feels like we've been forever since we've had one of these meetings where we can hear about this. Oh, it's so good to hear from you. Lori, I know you've got a question. Come on.
I've always got a couple, Mark. Yeah, again, just thank you so much for your stories and your, just your, your heart and soul. It really comes through even on a screen. But I mean, obviously this year has been so incredibly challenging. I would be interested in just hearing maybe a little bit of your reflection or sort of your creativity that you've had to leverage when you're dealing with this online learning and distance learning for our little ones, especially the last few weeks. And then the other comment I'd make, if anybody has any reflections on it, is just, I just had a parent actually reach out to me today and talk about, they're concerned about, growth, right? I mean, I heard that in your first goal and the challenge that might be this year to measure and to identify. But I think that really is the heart and soul of the concern that I'm hearing from constituents and parents. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how will we measure growth, and will we see it on an individual basis, or I don't know. I guess that's one of the concerns I have. So I'll quit talking.
I'll talk about the growth just a little bit, and I'm sure Joni can chime in, and I hope that she does. But there was a great synopsis that was written by a superintendent in New York. And I don't know if anybody has seen it or read it. I don't know if you've seen it, Jeff, or not, but it was kind of being passed around over the course of the last couple of weeks. And she, as this superintendent, was receiving all kinds of questions too about, the growth of your kids, and it was very focused on academics. And obviously that is the crux of what we do. We want to grow our kids academically. But she had a great synopsis. I wish I had it in front of me and could read an excerpt from it, but she had a great, when we talk about growth, we need to talk about the growth of a human being. And while we're going to pick up all the pieces for math and reading, when we talk about the opportunity for growth as a human being, that all of our young people, whether they're in kindergarten or a senior in high school, have been able to develop by going through this pandemic and having to readjust their thought process on so many things, that growth has occurred in ways for this generation that maybe would have never occurred without the pandemic. So I know that doesn't hit the reading and math, but it made me really sit back and think, okay, even with my own children, I have watched my 2 high schoolers struggle, with loneliness and, lack of energy. And I mean, just all of these things that typically my high schoolers did not struggle with. And I have had to watch them walk in those shoes and come up with opportunities for growth in so many human ways that I think they'll carry with them for a lifetime, and it will make them stronger, more confident, and more successful people. And I think the same, is true for all of our little people. We've had to be creative, and, Tom could talk about this at length too. I mean, they need that relationship piece. And so we venture over to the daycare at McKinley. Tom's great. He goes over there every week and takes a bunch of kids, not even just Washington kids, but kids from other buildings now that have joined in, and they're out playing football and they're talking for a few minutes, and all the Google Meets that our EAs and pairs are doing individually with kids throughout the day. So I just think, I know, are we going to struggle with reading and math? We probably are going to fall a little bit behind, but we're going to scoop them back up. When we get them back in person next week, we're going to focus on our small group interventions, our guided groups for reading, and really target individual skills and needs. But I don't want parents or educators or anyone else for that matter to forget about all the other opportunities of growth that we've had that will just make us better humans. I don't know, Joni, if you want to add anything on the academic side to that.
I read that same post, Beth, and I thought the same thing. Like, our kids are growing so much. I've been working with a 4th grade teacher during this recent distance learning stint. And so we've been doing some math together, and just, being on a screen with 20 other 4th graders, this other teacher and I, and, having kids raise their little Google Meet hand in the air and say, Mrs. Harmson, let me tell you how you could do that. That might be a better way to do X, Y, or Z, or, like just all sorts of things that they know, I don't know how, about being in a virtual setting. And they're amazingly resilient. I think that our kids, sure, they haven't learned the same academic skills necessarily as in a previous year, but they've learned heaps of other things that I think are gonna, learning is learning. It's just gonna jump forward in all ways. I don't think we have anything to worry about. And I think our teachers are super excited to get kids back in the building and move. So.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that. I think the adults have grown just as much. This has been really hard. I remember a couple days last spring when I was basically the only one in the building day in and day out. And there were a couple days I had some tears at my desk. I didn't get into this business for that. And like I said, I'm a counselor. I'm a people person. I need social entities in order to feel fulfilled and to have my cup filled. And I did not have that at work or, after work, because you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. So I had to learn a lot about myself and how to navigate different situations that maybe make me uncomfortable and sad at times. And I think all the adults in our building have had to do the same thing. So I think that actually, while it hasn't been fun, I think it's been a good experience for all of us because we have all become stronger and better people because of it. And we can only take those resilient skills that we've learned and help, incorporate those into the work that we do with our kids when they come back.
Can I just answer Lori's first question too? I think that from my experience working with, I work with a fourth grader that I've worked with pretty much every year since he was in kindergarten, and he's a tough kid and I adore him like crazy. But because and this online transition has been rough on him, but however, I think because on the front end, the relationship that I have with him, that I've developed with him, has made it so much smoother. And he tells me daily that he hates school. Sorry, Beth. He hates school. He's, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's stupid and he hates it, but he comes back every day. Every time we meet, he is there without fail. He even asks for extra time with me to help him. So if we didn't have that relationship on the front end that we've developed, it wouldn't be going as well as it's going now. And I think that Connie would probably agree with me on that, that again, that relationship part comes in and is such a foundation and a base for anything we do from here on out.
And that's why the academics don't concern me. We can go back to Michelle Krell's famous quote that she likes to state, no significant learning happens without a significant relationship. That is the crux of our work. And so the learning will get caught back up. If they know we care about them and we love them and we are here for them, the learning will catch back up.
And I'll just throw in a little thing that we are still able to meet. The EAs have approximately 15 to 20 kids maybe that we meet with on a daily basis. And it's been amazing at what we are able to help them with. We're able to get into their Google Classroom and see what they're working on and help them. I have all their math books right here with me, and any whiteboards, anything I may need here, I can flip to a page and help them with whatever they're on, and still walk them through those steps. So it is still pretty amazing what we're able to help them with, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah.
Board members, any other questions? Oh, Lori.
Just a word of thanks to all of you for your comments. It's nice to, for those of us who aren't like in the front lines, right? We don't really know what your days are like. So Gwen and others, thank you for those details.
Agreed. As I'm looking around to see if any of the other board members are turning off their mute button, I am going to pass things over to Mr. Elstad for some closing comments.
I always have something to say. I'm very proud of this team. And one of the things that caught me tonight was typically in these building presentations, we have some support staff, but there are a number of support staff. And I go back to our mission, which says inspiring excellence, every learner, every day. Well, the word learner is a rather versatile word. And when we say that, I would say it's every person, every day, focused on taking care of our kids. And in that, when I see the support staff and I see the different things that you're doing within the work that you have, it takes all of us every single day, because without your help and support, we can't do this work. We just can't do it. And so I can't tell you how appreciative I am of the work that you're doing to kind of keep our students. And I want to go back to this because I've heard so much rhetoric around learning loss. We've lost learning time. All of the things that are math and reading are important. There's no doubt about that. But let's add the importance of perseverance, grit, and problem solving. What have we learned in the last 8 months about those things? Including when you don't know how to do something on a meeting, you figure it out and you find a way to solve a problem so that you can present at a board meeting, right? Case in point this evening. But again, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm just continue to be intrigued, and I was also just empowered by the work that you're all doing for our students. I miss you all greatly because just like Beth, I'm a complete people person. I haven't been to Washington for a while now, and I think I still remember my way to the building, but I can't wait to see our kids back in buildings and see the caring adults that are there working for them, because that's what fills my cup. Thank you.
Washington folks, thank you oh so much. Again, I'm echoing those sentiments, but it just felt really good tonight to talk about kids and education and relationships. That's wonderful. We're going to move on. Item 4 tonight is a discussion with regard to goals for the superintendent. And the very quick backstory here is that last summer, we as a board would have had a substantive conversation with Mr. Elstad about, just sort of the update of his goals. Where does things stand? What do things look like? And none of you are surprised when I tell you, usually the week before these meetings, Lori, Jeff, and I will meet and we'll talk our way through tonight's agenda and what's coming up and what do we need to be talking about. And when we met virtually, and when Jeff said, yeah, we should probably talk about my goals, there was this long silence, and I'm not going to speak for Lori, but we've kind of forgot that we even had goals for our superintendent. We've been in such a reactionary mode for now almost a year that it was crazy. Now, here's the other interesting thing. This is fascinating to me. So we said, okay, well, what do you have? Pull it out. And as Jeff pulled it out, it's amazing just how successful he has continued to be with ticking off all of the various little components to his goals. There's some places where there's some catching up, but I got to tell you, he hasn't dropped the ball. It's kept on going. And I'm going to turn it over to Jeff for just a quick update. You received some stuff from him via email today, and I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Mark. I don't know that when we started this or put these goals together a year ago, over a year ago now, that, trying to guide a district through a major pandemic would have been one of those goals. And I think that's probably passé to even say, because all of us are in that spot to know how we've had to kind of gain that the perseverance that was necessary for us to continue on. But anyway, it's been my pleasure to serve the community and serve this school district, and most importantly, the students and staff of this district. But as I look forward to this next year, there are things that I want to start spending time on. As the pandemic continues to change and evolve, and hopefully we start finding our way out of the pandemic, I think I want to start looking at some other things, because I feel a bit reactionary, because typically I'm a visionary. I like to see what's out in front. I like to lay things. I like to throw ideas out there. And I haven't been able to do that because we've kind of been responding to whatever the Department of Health and the Department of Education have given to us and saying, here's what you need to do now. So take this and lead. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share with you a proposed set of goals for this school year, and that would include everything up through probably late next summer, where the board would evaluate those goals and then decide if there are things we want to have that you would like me to continue to work on, or in fact, if it's something that we believe we've achieved and are looking for something else. So give me just a moment here to toggle to this. And I believe everyone can see that now. Not yet. Hang on one second. Pardon me. Okay, very good. So these are draft goals that I would propose for your consideration as we go through the rest of this month. What I would ask for is your consideration or other things that you want to bring forward, so that on the last meeting of this month, which is January 25th, the board would consider approving these goals so that I can get started. A number of them I've already started on and can continue work on, but again, some of them would require a little bit of strategy in how we move forward. So I like to classify our goals under our 4 commitment areas, the first of which is 21st century learners. And so again, part of this is continuing the progress that we have in our 21st century high school facility so that we are preparing our students and our facility to meet the needs of our students. So with that comes a number of communication tools. One would be is communicating with our community on a continued monthly basis about the progress, and as we look forward to monthly, particularly now as we start to get through the bidding process and start to really go through what those next steps are and some of the exciting steps about, putting shovels in the ground and starting to really see the high school rise out of the ground. And furthermore, a second strategy with that outcome would be partners and planning purposes within that, as far as working with the city of Owatonna, working with the Steele County, working with Owatonna utilities, and some of those continued planning purposes and planning processes need to take place and certainly require my attention as we're going through that, as we continue again to partner on this facility. And so the metric for doing that would certainly be those monthly progress updates, as well as the district facilities committee that meets on a monthly basis to go through and gets gets regular reports from Wold Architects and Kraus Anderson Construction on where we're at and how we're moving forward. The second desired outcome under 21st century learner would be something that I tabled last year because of the advent of COVID, which would be to do some research around alternative school calendars. And that would be to start gathering input from other districts around the country that are utilizing an alternative school calendar. What do I mean by that? Well, for the past 200 years in public education, we've used what's called an agrarian calendar, meaning that the calendar typically starts in late August, early September, and typically ends up sometime in late May or early June. What I'd like to do is, and especially with the advent of COVID and understanding that we can do things alternatively, would be looking at what calendars best suit our students and best suit our community that don't necessarily always fit within the typical agrarian calendar. Along with that would be a strategy to gather local perspectives, because everyone has ideas about what calendars might be appropriate. Including those perspectives would be parents, childcare providers, staff, employers, and other students, and of course our students, to gather their input on what those alternative calendars might look like and what feedback they might have to that. All leading to a board presentation that I'd like to prepare for you in July to demonstrate what those findings are and look at potential proposals for consideration. What I'm not suggesting is that for next year's calendar we're going to make any real changes or drastic changes. What I would ask is, though, as we move forward and as we continue to look at, as we set calendars, perhaps some of those perspectives and findings come to fruition so that we can start looking at future calendars and how we might be able to use some of that research to guide that. Under the second commitment area, which is safe and caring, this is really something that it requires my attention almost daily now, which is really just continue to look how to safely transition our students and staff into an in-person learning model. As you know, back last March, we went into what I call emergency learning, and it was distance learning. And throughout the course of this year, we've already had 2 or 3 model shifts because of the advent of COVID and its preponderance within our county. So within that, the 3 strategies I'd like to do to continue to safely transition our staff and student body is working with county and state officials to continue to determine what the most appropriate learning model is, and that's county case counts, things like that, as well as just safety of operations within our district. Communicate on a monthly basis to both our internal and external stakeholders, keep those informed of changes. And then furthermore, providing for bi-monthly COVID testing for staff and for vaccination. Yes, you heard the word vaccination clinics. Finally, we see some light at the end of the tunnel. So within that particular strategy, and I'll share this in a brief, in my COVID briefing just a little bit later, within the COVID testing, we're actually starting testing on an every other week basis starting this Wednesday. And that does include board members. And so as I walk through that, but again, it's really planning for the testing as well as now planning as we look forward into perhaps what could be mid to late February, vaccination clinics for our staff. So within that, continue to plan with those county officials, with our Department of Health, along with Steele County Public Health to facilitate those services. The metric for measuring progress here would again be those monthly communication tools. And lastly, a successful transition for our students and staff. In the area of equity, which you know is one of my passions, would be continuing to improve the understanding of racial and cultural equity for our community leaders and our school board. We are just about ready to kick off what's going to be our second cohort of courageous community leaders. And as I look on here, I see I already have a bit of a typo that I need to just take that out. There we go. So what I would look to do as a strategy was assist in the courageous leadership training for our community leaders. Second cohort is beginning in February and will continue as we move forward throughout this year and into next fall. Second strategy would be I'd like to continue our learning around as a board to have courageous leadership, which requires your attention as a board member to do something in March perhaps to continue your learning. And then lastly would be to monitor our district-wide and school-based improvement plan to address the racial and cultural inequities in systems and practices. This is something, and actually I've been working with Sarah on this as we begin, and one of her goals, being the executive assistant to the superintendent, is to really work with me to identify those goals or policies that are within our board policy book that may have cultural inequities, and that we have to look to how do we rectify those systems and practices. So measuring the metric for measuring progress on these would certainly be systems inventory, which is something we're going to be conducting here as we start to bring staff back on board. Reflections of personal growth, and that includes the courageous community leaders, the school board, myself, and all of our staff that's been part of those courageous seminars. And then lastly would be building surveys to gather whether or not our students are seeing a difference in the trainings and the understandings that our staff are developing. And then finally is something that I'll be working on very closely with Michelle Krell. Through the pandemic, we have identified that in the long term, how has education shifted? Well, we recognize that at some point we are going to have a fully online platform for learners that choose to continue with online learning for next school year. So what we have started to do already is develop a comprehensive online platform for our K-5 learners, and that will be expanding to our 6-12 learners as we move forward. I will be working, as I mentioned, in tandem with Michelle Krell to complete the application process for the Minnesota Department of Education, as well as working to secure needed staffing and students for next school year. Within that, we will look at the successful application process and our implementation of an fully online academy for students and families that are making that learning choice for next school year. How does this benefit the district? Well, for many years, when students have decided to go online, they typically open enroll to an online academy, which sees their dollars go right out the door, whereas we feel like we are able to provide a successful online academy program that will keep those students, keep their funding within district, but more importantly, allow them to still participate in all of the activities that we might be able to offer for students. So again, I feel like this is a needed intervention, and it's something that Michelle and I have looked forward to bringing on board. And so as we move this process forward, I'll be keeping the board fully aware of where we're at. But at this point, I'll stop there. And I will stop sharing if that's okay. I did send this out to board members in an email as well, so you could review. I'm open to suggestions or if you'd like further clarification. And that means you too, Daniela. I love to have student input on this if there are things that you're wondering about. So I'll open it up for questions at this time. Okay, hearing none.
No, Nikki.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yep,
I'm
Nikki's
sorry. I
coming
couldn't see
through.
on the screen.
Nope, that's
I was
okay.
just
You
wondering-
figured I would have something to say. So a couple things. Most of mine are comments. And first off, thank you for always being so on the ball and having this done for us. It's just awesome. From the alternative calendars, just a comment, I want you to take special consideration into the migrant worker people, just because, again, with the potential of extending it, or we could lose some families that way.
That's a great point, Nikki. Yes.
And then, what was the last one? Oh, where is it? I made myself a note here. For online schooling, how does the funding work for that? Would we get it for the students, and how would you track? Again, I imagine it would be similar to how you're tracking time right now with the pandemic, but I want to make sure that the number of hours and days are counted accurately so we get the correct funding.
Yeah, so currently we still mark instructional days based upon seat time. It's kind of an archaic method. We've been probably have learned through the pandemic that maybe seat time isn't as important as it once was deemed, I should say. So in regard to that, the way an online academy operates is that when students enroll, it's just like enrolling in any one of our other buildings, and so they're still considered a full-time student within Owatonna. So we still would keep all of the student formula dollars would be coming into our district so that we would retain those. And then what we would have to identify is, so in some situations they have elementary online instructors that run multi-age classrooms. And in most cases, because you typically don't have a set of 25 third graders or 25 fifth graders or whatever the case might be. So what you might be running is like a primary classroom, because you might have 3 kindergartners and 2 first graders and so on. And again, what you do is you build that class. So you might have a primary instructor that's providing individual online instruction for students. You might have an intermediate, which would include grades 3, 4, and 5. And then again, you can go to the content areas within middle school and high school. Typically, most content areas are, especially at the middle school and high school and ALC, have content-specific instruction where they can teach anybody from ages basically 7 through 12. And so if it was social studies, you might have a 0.4 or 0.5 instructor that's part of their role is to provide the online instruction for students as part of their contract. And then you just build that clientele through registration process with distance learning. So as far from a financial standpoint, it's a win for the district because we don't see those per student formula dollars leaving our district, but we also are able to retain them because in those situations, we have students that are doing online and have done for years and still are able to, they cannot participate in any of our activities because they've open enrolled to an online academy. Whereas if we keep them here, those students could participate in all of our, theater, our musics, and all of those things. They're just happening to participate online because that's what they've chosen to be their best learning style. Does that, Nikki, as far as the financial aspect?
It does. One follow-up question with that. So does this open us up to more opportunities with the ALC and potential, how do I say it? Going away from traditional 8 to 3 time frame where they have to attend, so maybe they would have more opportunities to complete school?
Absolutely. In fact, Brenton Shavers and Michelle and I have been working because we have a number of students that through the pandemic found full-time work. And they are not wanting to come back to the old model because they have jobs that are there from 8 to 4. And they're trying to find a way. They still want to get their diploma. They still want to graduate from the ALC. But we have been able to use the technology and the knowledge we have now with kind of distance learning. It is anytime learning for them. They have access to the content whenever they want it. Of course, they still need to connect with their instructors during the day. But the instructors have been really good about saying, hey, if your work schedule starts at 8, I'll meet with you at 7:15. I'll answer your questions. We'll work through that. So the flexibility that would provide for alternative learners especially would allow them, because in some cases they're working because it's a family need. They need those dollars to be coming in for their family. And so this just offers a way that we don't lose students. I actually see our alternative school would see a higher graduation rate because students would be able to persist because they have a more flexible schedule. The other thing I see is that we could potentially be attracting students from smaller districts around us for open enrollment that are looking for a different system. And we can offer those courses cheaper than the private online academies do. And we also then provide them the opportunity that if they wanted to participate, they could maybe even do activities within their home districts as well.
Deborah, did you have a question too?
I just wanted a little clarification as to what you mean by stakeholders.
Oh, yes, thank you. So the stakeholders, particularly when we look at internal and external stakeholders, could be internal would be staff and students. And then external stakeholders could be community members, it could be parents, it could be community leaders. And again, within all of those, I just call them stakeholder groups because it kind of gels them all together into what we have internally and what we have externally.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Any follow-up questions here? Very good. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.
Thank you. And again, if I may add, if there are other feedback that you'd like to provide me, certainly send me an email, give me a call, and then I'll walk through that. But again, these goals would be up for consideration based upon any potential revisions or edits at the January 25th meeting.
We have reached a point where we're at board forum. I am going to go around the horn as all of you appear on my screen. Lori, I'm going to start with you. Anything for board forum tonight?
Yeah, just to comment more, looking to the future. So on Wednesday, I will be joining a class at the high school to talk about education and the role that the school board plays. Just curious whether others, I think you were all invited. I'm not sure who accepted. I just don't want to duplicate comments and so on. So if anybody else is going, anybody else? Are you on that, Mark? Jolene? Okay. Oh, and Nikki. Well, excellent. So I don't know the format. It'll be interesting and good. So yeah.
If I might add, this would be a product of last year's goals, the Teacher Academy. So this is the class you're speaking to, which is those students that are looking to make education a career. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Daniela, we'll take it over to you.
I have not much to say, but I'm just working hard until the semester ends, studying for my finals. And then I'm excited to go back to school, hopefully, second semester. And I guess the main reason why I decided to go back was because I guess I felt safe enough, and as well as just like the classes that I'm taking are going to be a little bit more difficult. And even though online school is I wouldn't say hard, but like the teachers are very helpful when adapting. I just think that taking chemistry, for example, would be a more difficult class to take online. So I'm excited to go back.
Excited to see you go back. Jolene, anything for board forum tonight? Tim, how about you?
Just looking forward to getting back to in-person meetings.
Yeah. Nikki, anything for board forum?
Nothing.
Okay. Deborah, anything to add tonight?
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Eric, anything?
Just excited next week to have to watch myself driving up and down the streets for kids actually being on the playgrounds again.
I did not have anything for board forum tonight. I'm going to turn things back over to Mr. Elstad. A couple of closing comments here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I always like to provide it seems like it's been a while since we've met. I want to provide a brief COVID update for you. So our county has made significant progress in the right direction. If you remember, at one point we were over 180 cases per 10,000 in our county. As of last Thursday, we were at 46.9, which is a miraculous recovery. And what you're going to like even better is that we're headed close to 30 for next week's report. So we're going in the right direction. It still requires all of us to utilize masks and social distance. And you're going to see social media coming from me all the time saying, if we want our kids in school, if we want kids playing basketball and hockey and gymnastics and wrestling and all of those sort of activities that we love and adore, it's going to require the adults to take care of themselves and to behave themselves so that we can continue to keep our students doing the things that they love to do. So with that, next Monday, we will return our learners to their previous models, including elementary. Preschool through elementary will return to in-person every day. And so that starts next Monday. Just as a quick reminder for parents that this coming Thursday and Friday, the 7th and 8th are transition days for our elementary staff as they get back in buildings and start to prepare their classrooms again for students coming next Monday. And then of course our 6-12 students, middle school, high school, ALC will return to hybrid back to the 2-1-2 model. And so as Daniela indicated, we're getting close to the end of the semester here. And so we do have a number of students, including Daniela, that are choosing to return for second semester classes. And so we're excited to see them back. A couple other things that I mentioned previously, just to follow up on. COVID testing was part of the governor's most recent executive order. And so within that, the update to the Safe Learning Plan allows for voluntary testing at no cost to staff every other week. For Owatonna Public Schools, that means this Wednesday, January 6th, we'll start COVID testing, and it is a saliva test. And that includes board members as well. You are eligible to come into the district office after 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning to receive your COVID saliva test. Basically, you'll get a box. There's a tube in there. You collect saliva within the tube. You put the seal on there. Someone will be here to help you with that. We put it back in a bio bag and it gets sent back to the lab. And then as soon as the lab receives them, it's 48 to 72 hours and you'll have your results delivered to you via email. So that's an exciting update because that's just one of the steps we feel is necessary to start bringing more and more of our students back. And then vaccinations. I don't know if there's been a better word right now, at least in my vocabulary, than vaccine. We are looking right now, so Tier 1A is including the healthcare workers, and those are the folks that you're seeing now being vaccinated. Educators and staff are considered right now to be Tier 1B. So we are the next group in line to receive vaccines. And so what we believe to be true is that the end of January, it's believed in Steele County that we will have achieved full vaccination for all of our Tier 1A workers. And so then we'll begin 1B. In the best estimate I have is that sometime in mid-February, we would be asking school staff, including board members as well, to be vaccinated. And so it's fully optional. It's something that you can choose to do or choose not to do. But it'll be a drive-through clinic, more than likely at the Steele County Public Works building out on Old Highway 14. A lot more information to come on that, but I'm excited to report that that will hopefully bring a little more light to the end of the tunnel in the COVID time that we're in. And so just a quick reminder, as Mark indicated, that at our next meeting on Monday, January 25th, we will be back in person in the boardroom, but we'll also be following the masking and social distancing protocols that we had in place prior. So we'll still be live streaming our meeting. We won't be inviting any of our public in yet. Until we get the word from the Department of Health that that's safe to do. But board members and all of you included will be part of our in-person meeting on the 25th. So I think those are all of the updates I had in regard to COVID. I would stand for any questions you have or clarifications needed. Otherwise, that would be the end of my report.
Looking to see if there are any questions. Okay. Don't see any. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, with that, that draws to a close our work session. Thank you all very much for your patience and persistence with all of this virtual meeting. We cannot wait to see all of you in 3 weeks. With that, I will make the motion that we adjourn tonight's work session. Is there a second?
Second.
We have several seconds. That's fantastic. Eric, would you go around the horn for us?
You bet. Mark?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
And I myself, Sin, aye. 7-0 pass and the organization meeting.